Welcome to the Women of Distance podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Kramer. These are the stories of motivated women chasing big dreams in the distance running world. You'll hear from women who are crushing it on the trails, the track, and the road. These are not just the stories of women racing at the top of the sport, but the story of how she got there, the challenges, failures, successes, lessons, and life between the miles. This podcast is produced with support from our good friends, fellow trail runners, and favorite coffee roasters over at Summit Roasters. Check out their website at summit-roasters.com and use code WOD15 for 15% off your order every time. If you're enjoying what you hear, please take a moment to leave us a rating or review on your favorite listening platform and share your favorite episode with a friend. Thanks for listening. Okay, I am hanging out with Sarah Biehl today. Sarah, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really excited to be chatting. We had a while, it took us a while to get on and actually do this conversation, but I'm really excited to finally be doing it.
Me too.
Let's see. I was struggling with how to introduce you. You have done a little bit of everything in your running career. We'll start with marathoner. You are also ultra marathoner, trail runner. You are just off of a pretty awesome season of 50Ks in a lot of different ways.
Thanks.
You are actually returning to the Women of Distance podcast. You were on it in the original version with Devin. I
Yeah.
admit, yeah, it's been a while.
That was
So
like right
I'm
after JFK.
totally well, and we are in JFK week here. You are a previous champion, previous course record holder. I'm sure we are going to get into talking about that quite a bit. But before we get into any of all of those things that I just mentioned, I want to go back to your origin story in sport, in athletics, with running. Where did sport and athletics first enter your life?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I think I jumped in just about anything I possibly could in the small town I grew up in. I played softball, I played basketball. Basketball was like a huge part of my life for a while.
Hmm.
I danced, tumbled, played volleyball for a little bit, and not that this is like a sport, but it took up a lot of my time. I was in 4-H for a really long time,
Yeah,
so
okay.
just any and all activities I tried to jump into. But I, with all of those sports, there was definitely one thing that I like that had in common that kind of kept me at least like having some playing time, and that was I just never really got tired. Especially in basketball, I think they would just throw me in, and like if I had to come out, and I would always ask them like, why do I have to come out? And they're like, oh, we're just gonna give you a break, and I'm like, I don't want a break. I just want to play the whole time. Um,
What
but
position did you play?
um, Point guard for basketball for most of my career in that.
Okay.
And then yeah, softball, I was kind of all over the place. Like at one point, because I think with softball, um, not to hate on that sport, but I was so bored playing it
Yeah, if you
because
had all
there's a
this
lot of skating.
energy. Yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of energy as a kid. And I wanted to play the position that they got the most like action. So I tried pitcher because that is like that obvious like first spot. Terrible at it. Awful. So I'm like, well, what's the next spot that I could possibly hop in? And completely not what anyone would guess, but I was catcher for a little bit,
Okay.
and but the equipment didn't fit me, so that was always fun. But I did like that position because you're constantly doing something.
Yeah, you're
Um,
always on. I can see that.
yeah. But yeah, just kind of hopped into everything. And but I feel like there's a story that one of my friends and high school and college teammates' mom told me that I think kind of sums up my like it paints a picture of me playing ball sports really. And she told me the first time that her son Jeremy came home in kind of small town, like told me or told her about me, and he said, "Mom, there's this girl on the basketball team that falls down but gets right back up." She keeps falling down, but she will get like right back up. We have to get her to run cross country. And I love that story because I've looked at it a couple different, like from a couple different viewpoints. One being almost like a mantra now, like fall down, get back up, fall down, get back up. Literally, figuratively, whatever it is. Um, but another way I've looked at it, which is probably what he actually meant, is there's this girl on the basketball team that has so much energy, falls down a lot. We got to get her to run cross country and use that energy in somewhat of a productive way. Terrible at ball sports, but like let's use this energy in more of a productive way.
So I have to interrupt you here for a second because I think it's funny. The last time, not the last time, at some point in the past year or two, I was talking to Devin Yanko, and she described you exactly the same way. We were talking specifically about JFK and the trail segment out there. And I have a fear of like how technical the trail is out there. And like if you fall, you could really get hurt if you're not careful.
Yeah.
And she told me this story of, oh, Sarah Biehl, the record holder in this race, well, she falls down all the time and she would just fall down and get back up and keep going. And that was how
Yeah,
she
she picked me
described you to
up.
me. So I think it's so funny to hear those exact words resonated as in your adult life as a trail runner in a different aspect. And it also was helpful to hear that like it is okay to do that and not be scared of it. Just get back up, keep going. And anyway,
Yep.
I thought that was a
That
very funny, exact same words.
that's hilarious. I haven't heard her say that. I mean, she did in the JFK that we ran together. She like scooped me up like from the ground. So she's seen firsthand, and I've done a couple runs with her where I've also fallen on those runs. She's like, "Can you stay on your feet?" I can't. I
Truly, though,
really
that is
can't.
a skill in trail running to be able to do that, to be
Yeah,
okay with falling. And
yeah.
anyway,
But
I'm getting
it's
off
just life.
subject.
No, it's fine. It's just life in general. I like any sport or just walking down the street. Like I'm probably gonna fall, but I guess I get right back up.
Yeah, and you clearly have a lot of coordination. Like all of these sports that you are describing are hand-eye coordination. Dance has a ton of proprioception and coordination involved. And obviously, we're going to get into running and trail running here. But I interrupted you mid-story. This is how you worked your way into cross country. Go back to that.
Yeah, yeah. So Jeremy had a huge impact on that because I ran track my freshman year, but I was kind of like, oh, like just do mid distance, do that instead. I don't really like softball anyways. But for some reason, I was really dead set on volleyball. Again, does not make sense for me, but that's fine. Um, and a lot of my friends, my like friend group, they all played volleyball, and
Mm,
I like most like high schoolers just want to kind of do what our friends are doing. And that's when Jeremy kind of came into play and he was like, no, you need to just come to a cross country practice. And I mean, I give him so much credit because he definitely like would not take no for an answer. And finally came to one of their like summer open tracks is what they called it. And I mean, I didn't need any convincing after that. Like it was just immediate. I feel like, in a lot of those like high school sports, like basketball, we were very much almost like on a set schedule. Like even our water breaks were like go get a drink of water and come right back. There's not really any in between. And then I went to cross country practice and the coach was like, all right, well, you guys go do your regular loop and we'll come back here and have popsicles. And I remember asking someone like, wait, we're free to just like go run around town? Like we can do this at like just together as high schoolers? And they're like, yeah, we do this. This is practice. And there was like so much freedom with it
yeah.
that I think that was like my first, I don't know, the first thing I liked about it was there was all this freedom and we got to talk all of practice. That wasn't something that we did um, for a lot of the sports. It was, pretty down to business. So with cross country, I'm like, okay, this is, and just like the people, like it was definitely people from different friend groups, but we all like came together. And that was another thing I liked. Like all these people, different like groups, different, whatever, like social groups in school all coming together and it's like we immediately were all friends and like had not a lot in common outside of like we like to run around town And so that
Hmm.
was another thing too. I'm like, this is just a cool sport.
I love that. I love that. The things that you share on a long run, the bonds that you develop when you're out running are different than
Oh yeah,
just in the community or at school or at lunch or what have you. Talk a
exactly.
little bit about with cross country. At what point did you realize that you were good at this? That it wasn't not only that you enjoyed it and you were enjoying all these aspects of it, but that you had something here.
Um, well, during the track season before, I had some success in the 800. I was thrown into like 800s and 4 by 8s. I think that first season, maybe just out of some like dumb luck and really not knowing what I was doing, I broke the school record in the 8. So
As a
I
freshman?
kind yeah, and but also I I didn't do it well. Like I ran the first lap way too fast. So it took a lot to actually know how to race it, but I just ran really hard until I completely died. Um, but so I kind of had an idea, but going in across country, it was another thing. Like I just kind of went to the front. I'm like, well, I want to be I was competitive as a kid, and again, I think a little bit of like dumb luck. I won my first cross country race, and so I think that was when like the coaches and I think Jeremy felt very validated. Like I knew. So that first season, I won a lot of like the local races. I was all Ohio that year. So it was kind of, and that helped a lot too, just like having this sport that felt like mine almost.
Hmm.
That I could take the thing that actually like the really the only thing that kept me like on the court, this all this energy and endurance. And I could just, and that's all I did was this
Yeah.
this one sport. That's all it surround was around. So it was that first season that I was like, oh, okay, actually, like maybe I could go to college and do this.
So talk about as a kid with a lot of energy that like needed to move and needed to be engaged in something. Did finding this sport and finding this outlet that really let you pour your energy into it carry over into any other aspects of your life? Like in school, did you feel like anything changed for you outside of just the sport itself?
Um, I think it opened up like I guess more friend groups. And maybe I mean, in school I still like could not get my energy out, so it was still the kid that talked a lot and got in a lot of trouble. But it was I think it opened up like just this whole world of like different friend groups and kind of expanding that because I grew up in a small town. I mean, my graduating class was 98 kids. So
Wow.
it was nice that I I got to, get close with like freshmen or senior, or like everyone in between, and just from maybe people I wouldn't have typically had a friendship with before that, which that was
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so taking this into college, talk a little bit about what your opportunities were and what you decided to do after high school.
Yeah, it actually kind of goes back to Jeremy too, because my sophomore year of cross country, he was a senior, and I saw him sign to go to Shawnee State, which is an NAIA school, in Southern Ohio, and I saw him sign, and I actually met the coach the signing day, and honestly, I kind of had that on my mind like the rest of my high school career, and Jeremy and like the Shawnee State cross country coach Eric, he came to some high school races. Jeremy was back often because his brothers and his sister ran on the team as well. So had a lot of influence to go there. And I mean, I looked at other schools, but it was kind of like this. I feel like this is my path. And I also Jeremy would come home for the summer and tell us all these stories of the team and the different characters on the team and all the cool things that they got to do and how cool the coach was. And so it was kind of a
You were
no-brainer. I'm
sold.
like, yeah, yeah, almost immediately. But I mean, it helped just hearing all these like fun stories and just how, I don't know, laid back. And it felt like a good fit. Um, and I mean, I kind of knew that that's where I wanted to go, but I went on um, a, a college visit I think it was my senior year of cross country. And I got to run what became like a very famous and just regular Sunday group run. The loop is called Hangover. It got its name from some of the upperclassmen for obvious reasons, of it being a Sunday long run for college kids. And I mean, it wasn't called anything else. It was like, oh, we're going to run Hangover at this time. Okay. But anyone else outside of like our cross country team would be like, you're going to do, are you hungover? Like, what are you talking about? Like, no, we're going to run Hangover, not run hungover, maybe sometimes, but
Maybe.
maybe, but like, we're going to run Hangover. But I went on my visit to do this run, and that's where, like, I might be getting ahead of myself here, but that's where kind of I was introduced to trails, because the Hangover Loop is in the Shawnee State Forest, which is in southern Ohio, and the Hangover Loop is on a bridle trail. So half of it's on a bridle trail, and then half of it's on some Forest Service roads. About 12 miles for the loop, and I think like around 1,000 feet of climbing, which for college kids, that's
Hmm.
a good amount. But then off of that trail, like branched out into different like single track trails, the Buckeye Trail. So got a little taste of it, and we were always in the forest. So that's kind of where that was introduced. But going back, my visit, we went, and I think the coach was a little hesitant. Like, we don't want to scare her away, but we're doing our Sunday regular group run. Do you want to join? And I'm like, yeah, of course. And so I did it. It was the longest run that I'd done at that time, and by far the hardest thing I'd ever done. And I remember like getting done with that run and thinking like, "Wait, they do this every Sunday." Like, that was probably the hardest thing I've ever done. And this is like a casual thing. Like, I feel like I have to come here because this is like the only way to really get good, right? And that was like my mindset of, this is just like a normal thing for them. And yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be sore for like the rest of the week.
And you
So
wanted to level up to that. That's cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And also, I mean, just the atmosphere of like the team, and all of that, and just being like out in the forest, that was an introduction to it. So I think like deep down, like I always like was meant to get on the trails, because that's what kind of helped convince me to really like sign for this college.
Yeah. Yeah. So talk about that transition a little bit. I think sometimes the transition from high school competition to college competition is really challenging. It sounds like for you, it was maybe a little bit more smooth and that you had really been setting yourself up for this for a couple years before then. What was that transition like? And then how did your career evolve throughout your college years?
Um, yeah, I think from like a mental standpoint, and just already kind of knowing some people on the team, that was a super easy transition. Already knew Jeremy, some of his friends. I knew the coach, like had a lot of interactions prior. Um, but my freshman year, I actually got really hurt. My IT band was so messed
Mm,
up. So I think from like a physical standpoint, that transition was not so smooth. And it was, and also kind of resulted in some just mental like downfall a little bit, because I went in, and I think the coach, the team, and myself had high expectations. Like, as I mean, the class I came in with, we were at that time like the best recruiting class. So there was high expectations for all of us.
hmm.
And I came in, and I was hurt, but kind of like ran through it. Didn't really, I don't think I really led on to how bad it was, but I was just falling back, and kind of at the back of the pack for these races for our team, which was a bummer, because I'm like, I feel like there was all this expectation, and I'm like finishing like basically last on the team.
Mm,
But I was hurt, so I should have kind of had a realization with that. Just kind of a hard thing to do, I think, as a freshman, and you want to go on these trips, and there's all this excitement, and you don't want to say no, or,
yeah.
um, yeah, own up that, you're hurting more than you are. So that whole season, the cross country, going into track, I wasn't hurt anymore, but I was just really out of shape, because I had to take like a month off after cross country, and I wasn't able to really put in a great training block for cross country anyways. So kind of trying to get back into it that track season, but I was really determined the summer going into my sophomore year to um try to do like all the little and the right things. Not really. because in high school I had fun and I worked hard, but I was having more fun than hard working. And I just yeah, I feel like I got by with a little bit more of the talent on that. So in college I'm like, "Well, I can't do that any, like I'm just gonna get hurt or I'm gonna fall behind."
Hmm.
So I definitely took things a little bit more serious going into my sophomore year, and it paid off. I mean, I went from like finishing last at conference cross country my freshman year to being like the first to finish on our team for most of the races that sophomore year. And I mean, from then it just kind of kickstarted. Like it seemed like every season I was, doing just like a little bit more weekly mileage, running harder during workouts and during different time trials. And I PR'd like almost every season, like going forward. It was a really almost like smooth transition after that freshman year. Um, yeah, just like PRing my senior year was kind of the best to end the career.
That has to be really validating to have that tangible proof, I think, for taking care of yourself and changing the way that you were taking care of yourself. And then, like, almost immediately seeing that payoff. That's really reinforcing to continue those habits, continue to take care of yourself, and see the benefit of that over the course of your college career. That's a cool
Yeah.
story. And
Yeah, thanks.
sometimes
And
you
I
have to like experience it, right? Before you can really buy into what it means to do that.
Exactly. And I think, I mean, and sometimes like you can do all the things and it still doesn't go that way. I feel like, there was a little bit of luck in that as well to have that go, like my first season go really bad and then to do the right things and for it to go well. Like I feel like there always has to be a little bit of luck mixed into that too, because
Sure.
I know, and I've had times in like after college that didn't go that way necessarily as much, um, but yeah, that was a really good validating experience to have, especially at a younger age in the sport.
So, talk about post collegiate a little bit. What kind of opportunities did you perceive to have, or did you pursue as a post collegiate runner?
Yeah, so after I think the hardest transition was after college and just
Yeah.
kind of being it was the first time that I wasn't on a team. And I didn't have I mean, I ended up having like a coach soon after, but that was probably the hardest transition was trying to figure out like what am I doing? Like I know I still want to keep running. I know I want to keep PRing, but like what am I actually doing?
Hmm.
And yeah, so there were a lot of questions and my college coach was actually the one that said, I think you should try to like go for the OTQ. Like I think you can do this. And honestly, before that, I mean, I kind of heard about it. I didn't really know what it was. I didn't think that was in reach. I didn't even know if I ever wanted to run a marathon. I thought like the 10K was a solid max for me, which is kind of funny now. But yeah, the irony in that. But yeah, so he was the one. He was like, you should try the half, and the half like time for the OTQ was just so fast. So after that, I mean, that went well, but after that, he was like, no, let's just jump to the marathon. I'll help coach you because I stuck around to get a second degree. And I was like still kind of popping into some workouts with the team. So I technically still did have people to run with in a team. So it wasn't as bad as it, could have been of a transition, but it was kind of hard just trying to figure out what I wanted to do and what it was going to look like.
Yeah, and that's an early jump to the marathon. I think sometimes people delay it coming out of college and stick to maybe the track, the shorter distances, and it is a big jump from the 10K to the half to the marathon. Talk a little bit about what your professional life looked like at this point. What were you doing for work at the same time that you were beginning to dabble in road running?
Um, yeah, so when I started like running halves for the first time, I was still getting a second degree. So I was still in school, kind of working at a coffee shop, taking classes, running, which was a really fun time of life. But then after that, so when I like the time of life when I qualified for the trials, I think it was 2018. I was just starting my career as a physical therapist assistant. moved to Columbus, started running with some fast people in Columbus, joined the Columbus Running Company team. It's an elite team in the city, and that was super nice to kind of have a group as soon as I moved because that's kind of hard to do when you first move to a new spot. So yeah, I was trying to juggle my first like adult job with uh all this marathon training and training hard um to try to hit this time.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot. Okay, I don't want to fast forward over this, but spoiler alert, you got your OTQ. You ran in the 2020 trials, right?
Mhm.
February 2020. And then we all know what comes next in early 2020. The world shuts down. This later in the year then was the first time that you ran JFK, correct?
Yeah. hmm
So, where did this evolution come from? Like, we're talking about, gosh, you were young to go into the marathon coming out of college. Now you're taking the jump to double the distance. Talk a little bit about what was going on in between that time that inspired you to take that jump from marathon to 50 and trail. And
Yeah, it's kind of funny because after the trials, before everything shut down, which was pretty soon after the 2020 trials, but I had told my coach at the time, like before the Olympic trials, I was like, I think after I really want to have like a track season.
mm,
I really want to try to have like a pretty big PR in the 10K. I want to run some of these bigger meets. Like I want to kind of like dive headfirst into this. Um, and instead of that, I actually did the complete opposite. Like
yeah.
I talked to her years later about this, and she was like, "Yeah, you took a different turn than what we talked about." Completely was not expecting that. I'm like, me either, because I was like ready for track. Um, and so, yeah, 2020, everything shut down, all the races were canceled. Um, I had ran a couple like time trials, like 5K time trial, things like that, but it really wasn't, I don't know, inspiring me too much, for training. Like I did those time trials and one of my good friends would, stand at the track and time me on her phone and, cheer for me, but which was so nice. But aside from that, I'm like, I don't really have a lot of like passion for this right now.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was kind of taking some weekend trips to visit some friends in my college town and getting a little bit more runs on the Hangover Loop. And one of my friends, Seth, was like, let's go do the Shawnee State. There's the North Loop and the South Loop, which one of I've always got this so wrong, and I've asked him so many times, like we'll be in the middle of running this, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, but are we on the North Loop or the South Loop? He's like, I've told you so many times, we're like 10 miles into this run. But we did a lot of those runs, just because there was really no other races going on, and
hmm
um, I I feel like it was just really, I don't know, inspiring and fun and something different. And it was just a good way to spend my time, especially with everything just being so crazy. Like I worked in healthcare and I worked in a nursing home as a therapist at the time, and um, life was really hard with that. So being on the trails and hanging out with my friends and um, just kind of eating snacks seems like really therapeutic. And then those runs were actually they were going pretty well. So one of my friends and our time at Shawnee didn't line up, but an alumni at Shawnee as well, Michael Owen, he reached out to me and he was like, "Can I help you with this? And you should run JFK." So a lot of these things that I've done come from people like telling me you should do this, and like, okay, that's great. So just so many people that have like been the reason why these things have happened. Um, I can't really take credit for like any of this. I just okay, sure.
Well, but you being open to trying it, I think speaks a lot too. That yes, you have other people who are nudging you that way, but cross country isn't necessarily the first choice for a lot of 14, 15-year-old kids to go run that far. And 50 miles is certainly not just a, yeah, sure, I'll do. Like you have to put some effort into that. You have to have some guts to try it. So I think you get some credit there too for being willing to try
Thanks.
the thing that people are suggesting.
Yeah, I guess I really just can't say no. I'm like, oh, yeah, that sounds fun. Let's go for it. So he helps like coach me and through all since then through all the JFKs. And so yeah, did that. I mean, the first JFK it's funny because during the race even I'm like I think anything that I was warned about that could go wrong like during it not could there was plenty of other things that could have went wrong but a lot of things that could have went wrong and I almost got like it was a good laugh like while I was out there I'm like might as well laugh instead of cry but I there was a group of us that got lost
Hmm.
which everyone I say this and people are like how'd you get lost at JFK I'm like you kind
No,
of got to be
there's a
there
spot. Yep, there
yeah
is. This won't come out before the race, but for anybody who listens after the race, because the race
yeah
is tomorrow,
don't take a
and this will
left
come out a
turn.
couple days after. Yeah, there is a spot on the trail that you naturally would go straight, and the white blazes of the trail actually turn right. And it happens all the time. I run up there with people every week, and it's you're just watching your feet and you go straight. And
Yeah.
suddenly you find out, oh gosh, I don't think this is the race. I don't think I'm in it. And then
See,
you
well,
have
that
to
makes me feel
backtrack
better.
up. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
it's so common. Yeah.
Yeah. And that makes me feel a lot better because there were so many people that gave me crap about it. They were like, there's like barely any trail. How did you get lost?
No, it's
I'm
a
like,
real
yeah,
turn.
yes, yes.
It's legit.
So, and there was a group of us that got lost and so added on some extra mileage. And I think I had some stomach issues and just some, mental breakdowns out there. But it was still fun. And I think, because those things went wrong, but I enjoyed the layout of the course. I'm like, okay, well, I want to come back. I got to come back. Not I want to, but also like I have to come back and do this. And then that just kickstarted like a 3-year journey.
Yeah, so I think this is really cool too. I think it's as a fan of that race particularly, a fan of the sport in general, I think it's cool when people project a race like that and sort of like, most people don't nail any particular ultra race on their first try, especially if you don't like live on the course and go have access to experience it all the time. So I think it's neat to kind of see that dedication to figuring it out and solving all the problems and seeing what you're capable of on a particular course. You really did that. You came back the following year. You dropped, I think, a full hour off of your time from the first year, and we're on the podium that year. I think third, maybe in 2021.
I think I got second behind
Second.
Sarah, my
Okay.
brother Sarah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you came back the following year and not only won the race, but set the course record that year. So it was another, I want to say, like 15 minutes faster than the second year that you ran it. Like it was a really cool, like you could really see that transition between year one and year two, and then coming back in year three to really full send and nail all of the things. Talk about this was not the only ultra, the only trail race that you ran in that time, but talk a little bit about kind of what you were doing to work yourself in that direction.
Yeah, I think really I just like made this plan that I wanted to like center a lot of, especially my fall around JFK. After I got second, like the first year was definitely like just diving into the deep end of this like side of the sport. And then the second year, after getting second, I'm like, oh, okay, I feel like I could really like I could master these different sections and take off some time. It was almost like I was like getting more strategic about it. Like that second year was like, no, I feel like more comfortable with this distance and not to go the wrong way. And getting a little bit more like used to the nutrition. But after
Mm.
getting second, I'm like, okay, well, now I want to come back and get first. And then throughout that year, especially that winter, I thought about it a lot more where I was like thinking about the time, thinking about the different sections and I like saw the previous times and I'm like, this might be crazy, but like I really like want to try to shoot for this time goal too. Like I want to win, but I really think that I can like strategically plan like my training and just like the race like day of race plan to try to do this. So, and my coach at the time, Michael Owen, really helped out with this, where we did a lot of different training like specific long runs. I was living in Columbus at the time, so most of the week looked pretty flat, and just doing a lot more like speed workouts, things like that, which I think really helps. I don't think that ever hurts anything. And then on the weekends, I was driving like an hour and a half one way, to Athens or other trails in the area. And I would do maybe part of my long run on the trail, and then I would hop on the bike path in Athens and do a tempo run, and then maybe do a cool down on some of like the hilly like um roads around town. And it was just like it was a perfect place to train for that. And I mean, I had like a great coach that knew the course really well, that it's been out on that course himself, and then just also this like town to do this in, and to really focus a lot of my time and energy and mental focus on this race.
Mhm. You ran a marathon in that buildup as well, right? I don't know that that was your main focus with JFK being secondary or the A goal maybe of that race, but shortly before you set the record that year, there was a marathon in your buildup as well, right? Two
Yeah, the
2:39, I think was what I looked up. Is it still your PR?
yeah, yeah.
I
And it's
love it.
actually the last marathon I've done. So
Yeah, okay.
yeah. The itch for the marathon only comes around every like few years.
Yeah.
But when I do it, it's great. Yeah, I did the Columbus Marathon, and I would kind of went back and forth, just because I haven't always been the best about recovering after races like that, or like my body. Since then, I've realized it's maybe not my body, it's just like how I do the recovery process, and I've tried to get better about that over like the past couple of years. But I um I was kind of toying between doing the half marathon or the marathon, and also talked with my coach about it too. But we decided, no, I think the marathon will be fine. It's about like six or so weeks before JFK. And I'm so glad I did the marathon. Even the week of, I'm like, am I making a mistake? Like, JFK is my main focus. I want to do good at this marathon. I want to win this local marathon. It's where I first ran a marathon. I knew I wanted to move eventually in the next coming years. So I'm like, it would be kind of a full circle moment to win this like this race at home. And it was such a confidence booster to win that
Mhm.
marathon and to feel good the whole time. Like I honestly, from start to finish, I couldn't have painted a more perfect day. And again, I don't think that comes around very often either with the marathon. But I just felt good and strong and confident, and my hamstring felt great, which has always been my Achilles heel. And so I took a couple days off after that and felt really good in that recovery process, and got right back to training for JFK. And I just think that doing that it was exactly what I needed going into the race. Like I'm like, okay, I know I'm fit. I know I can hit these times. So that's what I'm going to set out to do. Um, yeah.
I think there's really something to this. And I had mentioned to you when we were texting before we recorded that I think you're not the only one to do it, but I think that you maybe sort of opened the eyes and opened the door to this is how you can succeed at this race specifically. Um, I don't think that you need to be a marathoner to win the race necessarily, but I think the fastest times that we see on the course are from people who can run a solid marathon and have run a solid marathon recently, either in their build or like shortly before. And I think there's really something to that. It is a runner's race. You have to sustain fast paces for a long time. So, if you are a pure trail runner, it's very difficult to do that for long distances and repetitive movements. I think the fastest times we're seeing in that race and on that course are from people who have a strong marathon in their back pocket. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't, like you were saying, like, I don't think you have to be a marathoner to win that race. I think it helps to do a marathon leading up to the race, because I do feel like a lot of trail runners, I feel like they just maybe haven't even like done a road marathon, or they haven't done one in a long time. Because I've heard a lot of stories of trail runners that, will do a marathon after like 5 or so years of not doing one, and, putting a lot of like strength
Hmm.
and trail work. And they PR by this like huge amount. So I think that doing a road marathon or some type of run like that before, it just gives you this confidence that you can run fast, but it's almost like you need that confidence to
Hmm.
go into the bike path. Like, I can look forward for 26 miles and run this like and just lock into this certain pace.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good
And
confidence
to have
boost.
the hardiness and the durability to do that, to be able to be that repetitive for that amount of time, I think takes a little bit of durability. And let's remember too, there's no headphones in this race. So you have to lock into that pace and hold it all by yourself and keep your mental game in check that whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
So
that
there's
I
something to running a marathon before.
yes, yeah, because I mean I haven't worn headphones in any of the marathons that I've done. And so yeah, I think it really helps to do that. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that might be one of the hardest things about that towpath is just being alone with your thoughts.
Yep.
Yeah. You can go to some dark places. You can get yourself out of dark places, but you will go to some dark places and you just need to be prepared for that. And
Right.
what better way to do it than a road marathon?
Yes, exactly. Work those demons out.
Yep.
Uh, Alrighty. So, this is an interesting part of your story that I really wanted to talk about. And we connected over the summer and I heard a little bit of this story. And it was a big part of why I wanted to do this interview in the first place was what came next after JFK. And you moved in that time and made a lot of life change in that time. So, talk about that a little bit. What came after winning course record at JFK? How did life change?
Yeah. I think I knew it was kind of a 2-year process of actually getting myself like I don't know, getting the courage up to moving.
Hmm.
Um I came out to do the Leadville 50 in 2021. I think to this day, it was like one of the hardest races I've ever done
Mm.
because coming from sea level to that, whew. Um, but it was just really an eye opener. I mean, I've spent my whole life in Ohio. I mean, I've traveled to different places, but coming out here and getting to talk to some people like out in the race after the race and like there's this whole other world and like life that I can live and it's just kind of up to me to do this. So ever I got back from that race and ever since then I was like, I feel like I'm not like feeling completely whole here anymore. Like I feel like something's missing.
Hmm.
Like every time I would go to these like race trips and I would come back and I would have the same feeling. But it took 2 years and JFK happened and it was kind of like, okay, maybe now's the time. I really want to like, I had this like race go really well, but now I think I need to go further and like, come out here and do the whole thing. Really commit to this. Especially because I was only getting on trails like once, maybe twice a week, and both
Hmm.
times I was really driving like 3 hours round trip to go, which it was fun in its own way. It was almost like some me time. In the car, on the trails, got to go to Athens, which I love. But it was kind of getting exhausting a bit.
Yeah.
So decided the spring of 2023, so a few months after JFK, to make the move, which the whole process, like it was exciting, and I think um, the month like leading up to it, I think there was all this excitement that surrounded this actual like really big decision, and it took a little bit of time when I was actually out here to kind of realized like this was a really big move.
Hmm.
I have had my whole life is in Ohio. I have great friends in Ohio, my family. So I just packed up my car and moved with me and my dog. I say that, and I moved out here, and I think one of the big reasons that I did take that jump was because my friends Nick and Claire, they've since moved back to Ohio, which is such a bummer but they are from Ohio and had lived out here prior to me. And I saw them at a race this spring, like a few months before I like officially decided to move. And I kind of told them like, hey, I found a job offer. I kind of want to do this. And they're like, you absolutely, you can come stay with us for as long as you need to while you get like yourself settled. And it was really in that moment that I was like, okay, like I will have this support system out here. So they really helped in that process because I don't know if like I would have fully done it. So it was nice having them out here, but it was hard. I mean, there were so many there's so many pros to being out like in the mountains and training here, but I don't think I realized like, how difficult it was actually going to be to just completely kind of turn my life upside down.
Hmm.
And also transition to altitude. I think I've heard, and we had kind of talked a little bit about this when I saw you in the summer, but I feel like I heard so much of, you come out to altitude, after a few months, you're acclimated and I guess how I interpreted it was like, you're good to go. Um, and I think, when you go out for a race, and you go out a few weeks before, I think that's beneficial. But I think when you're like living and training and sleeping
Hmm.
at altitude, I think it starts to like wear on you. And the the recovery and the things that and the recovery and the sleep um and the recovery paces the like I've done pretty well at like getting like the right amount of food in, but that was like not enough
Yeah.
being out at altitude, and these were things that maybe should have been a no-brainer, um but I just didn't click. And I think I was out here for maybe a couple months, and I think it was a big realization when for since I can remember, for the first time in my life, I lost my like I didn't get my period. And I've always kind of prided myself, like, I feel like, I've got that pretty on the money, and
Hmm.
never really missed, never really fallen um off that track. And so when that happened, I'm like, okay, like something is not right. Like my body is showing signs that like I'm not recovering right. I got a pretty bad hamstring injury, and also just like the paces coming out here. I I guess like trying to, it's hard for me to explain my thought process um on the difficulty of like the training and kind of adjusting to more of like the mental side of things.
Hmm.
Because you can get acclimated, but I feel like it should be a no-brainer, but my whole life I've been focused on like every year I'm like, okay, I did this tempo at this pace. It felt like this effort. Um, and then the next year I'm like, oh, okay, I feel like I can kind of, up that a little bit. It feels like the same effort as the year before, but this is what the paces look like. And then coming out here, I was doing shorter intervals that were at shorter interval effort, but looking more like a tempo, like pace. And
Hmm.
it definitely like wore on me mentally. Like I wasn't sure going into some of the races that I first did, after moving out here. I'm like, I don't know how much confidence I have, because I have no idea. I could be in really good shape, or I could be in terrible shape, or something could be, my iron could be low. I don't know. And that was a really hard transition, if I'm being honest. Like it
Yeah.
was hard, and took at least a year to get used to.
And in addition to that, you've got stress in your life of this big move, and your community has changed, and you're trying to establish a new community. And
Yeah,
while you're feeling bad and trying to establish yourself in a running community in a new place when your body isn't responding for you has got to be a challenging place to be.
yeah,
I think it's you need to take a lot of credit for recognizing those signs in yourself. I think it's easy to like see some of those symptoms, and the thought process is, well, I just need to work harder. I need to do more, like that sort of a thought process. I think it's really insightful of you to be able to identify for yourself, this is a problem, not I need to do more, work harder sort of attitude. What do you think helped you to work through that and put the pieces together and get yourself into, correct me if I'm wrong, but really just this year coming back into really feeling good again, feeling like yourself. Maybe I don't even want to say feeling like yourself. You're probably
no,
a different person than you were before you moved.
yeah, yeah, always evolving. But Yeah, I think, you know, being able to establish like more of a community, and I think that takes time. But I think that that's definitely been more of a kickstart over like the past like year and even 6 months. And um I feel like just like the more time I've been out here, I don't know if it's like this acceptance or just like kind of like my body getting used to being at a more difficult place. But I think this summer, even doing some runs up higher, it was the first time that I didn't think about like the altitude necessarily. I think that in like last summer or the first summer I was out here, um, I went I went into the runs like even before the run started. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be at 10,000 feet. I'm gonna probably get up to 12,000
Mm.
feet. Oh my gosh, like I already don't feel great at 5,000 feet, and not really setting myself up for success in that way. And I don't know if I just kind of like got to the point where I let go of that, and I'm like, I'm gonna feel the way I'm gonna feel, like, or I don't know, but I even like I mentioned to my coach Matt after one of the runs, the summer runs that I did. I'm like, that this is like the first time that I just didn't think about how high up I was. And that was, I think that's been a huge like that's been a huge part of it, as just something shifted in my brain. But yeah, also too, just being able to establish a community out here and get more comfortable with like where I'm at. Having a job. I mean, I just recently switched jobs. We were talking a little bit before, but um, working over like a year ago, I transitioned to home health physical therapy, and I was able to start this job where I could set my own schedule. And I
Mm.
think that's been huge because it kind of is hard to build a community and to meet up with people for runs. When my first job coming out here, I worked like 8 to 6, having like a short break, like 2 hour lunch break. But by the time you drive to a trail, change ends up being an hour run. So there wasn't really a lot of like meetup time. And I was spending most of my time at this office. So having a job where I could set my schedule for the most part, that was also huge.
Mhm. Mhm. I think this is just important for people to hear that I think, like you said, there's maybe a perception that the transition to altitude is not as big of an investment as it actually could be when you're training at a high level, that you should be able to just go out and acclimate and then you're fine. But when you're
Yeah,
training and you're investing, like you said, all of this day upon day and your recovery is not the same and your body is going through all of these transitions, it can be a long process, not a simple process. I think that's important for people to hear that
yeah,
doesn't just
yeah.
happen.
No, it's not just a month-long thing, and it's okay. It's like almost just like trying to find that patience, which is not always the easiest thing for me to do, at least. Like I want to jump in and feel good and get to going, but I don't think that that's like as easy as you want it to be moving to altitude from sea level. Or I mean, it wasn't just like moving from sea level to altitude. It was I was moving from a city to um having
Mm,
access to trails all the time, and getting, I could get like the same amount of vert that I used to get in a week, I could get in a day. And that maybe was another factor too of my recovery. Because I was so excited, I wanted to do like all the runs and all the trails.
right.
But I was really jumping into again the deep end.
Talk about from a performance perspective, did you ever feel like you had come off of this great victory at JFK? It was very visible, got a lot of attention, and then moving and going through all of these challenges with that move and transition. Did you ever feel from the outside any sort of pressure on how that transition was going for you?
I think I've had a lot of pressure on myself, more so from the
Mm,
outside. Even before the move, I feel like I kind of uh I didn't allow myself to, I think, absorb like the accomplishment that I had, kind of a 3 year long journey of JFK. It was almost like, I mean, I remember even after the race, waiting for awards, I was talking to my coach and some other people. there, and I'm like, oh, okay, so Black Canyon. And I was starting to talk about Black Canyon, and I'm like, no, I'm not like taking this in. I'm thinking like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I have to do something else. And that was me, that only came from me. No one else like was, telling me like you should do this. You need to do this. And yeah, it was definitely me because I was immediately talking about what I wanted to do next. And then I feel like after JFK, I fell into at least like a 6 month, maybe more, like just had a lot of different things like injury, sickness. I had some like serious like sinus inner ear issues that spring. So even before the move, I was like putting all this pressure on myself of like, well, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, and my body was not having it. It was like, no, like you're hurt, you're sick, something's wrong. You need to like kind of chill. And then so on top of that, I moved and yeah, coming out here, I don't know, even after all of that, I don't think I really, after the spring being a little rough, I just kind of wanted to focus on the move and things like that. But I think I put a lot of pressure on myself to like get acclimated quick and be like totally fine after like a month or so. So definitely a lot of more internal pressure.
So, coming into this year, talking a little bit more about what you've done over the past, we're in November now, 11 months or so. Um, this has been a shift. Your body seems like it's healthy, your mind seems like it's in a lighter place. Things are just clicking for you, and you've had a really interesting year, I think. You kicked off the year, correct me if I'm wrong, was Canyons 100K your first race of the year?
So I lined up for Chuckanut, but I got
Oh,
hypothermia.
yeah,
And
Chuckanut was something.
Chuckanut was technically the first race, but
Okay.
yeah, kind of froze on that one. Literally.
Yeah.
So Canyon's first one that I finished. Yeah.
Okay. So, a great day at Canyons. You had a really strong performance there and then went
Thanks.
into the rest of the year doing 50Ks of all sorts of variety. You did some crazy mountain things, some fast runnable things. Talk a little bit about what inspired this season that you put together and seemed like you really enjoyed yourself throughout the process.
Yeah, I called it the Tour Day 50K.
I like
Because
that.
I just wanted to do like literally every 50K. No, canyons went well, but canyons also had some rough patches. I rolled my ankle pretty bad in the race, and
Mm,
um, I was still like really happy with like how it turned out. It was just definitely a little more painful than I maybe would have anticipated or wanted. Uh, but then after that, I think that just I really was more drawn to like the 50K distance. I love the 50K distance, and I think I just kind of decided that I wanted to like just do 50Ks for the rest of the year, and not only just do 50Ks, like I wanted to do all sorts of different 50Ks. I think too, like just I wanted to just with like that kind of like earlier in the year, that time of life, I wanted to be around friends and travel and just kind of that was helping me through some like, rougher personal stuff. So it was nice to go to these different places. I knew a lot of different people that were going to be at the races. A lot of these races inspire me in different ways. Uh, I and I think especially for a speed goat, I don't know if I had like a whole like huge um I guess like a outcome that I was looking for. It was more so I wanted to do the training leading up to it. So I was
mm.
excited for that race, but it was more so I wanted to embrace where I am and the fact that training for something like that is really fun where I'm at. But yeah, just trying like literally any 50K that I could get to.
I love that. I love that. And I think it was really neat to see your skill sets evolve. Like here you have been through this whole struggle in adjusting to altitude, and you went and like really succeeded at some high altitude races this year. And it's cool to see that. And then you also had some success at some fast runnable races at the same time that sort of speak to your history and where your legs came from.
Yeah.
Talk about maybe what you learned in those different experiences and what you're sort of pinpointing are your favorite types of events.
Yeah. Well, with Broken Arrow, it was kind of fun. Broken Arrow was I guess a good stepping stone for me because I did Broken Arrow when I still lived in Ohio for the first time a couple
Mm,
years ago, and I remember that like it being very hard. Not as hard as Silver Rush, mainly because that was longer, but like still, I remember it being like on the top of the list for some of the hardest races I've done. And um, I remember getting through the first loop and just like thinking back, even going into the race this year, I was like, oh, I remember this being really hard. Like, I'm prepared for this to like be like really hard. And it's always, all these races are always hard. But I got through the first loop and I'm like, wait a second, that was not how I remembered it. Like, I mean, of course, hard, but I remember like dying during the
yeah.
first loop when I came from Ohio. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'm doing better at like the vert and altitude. So that was a cool comparison with that race. But yeah, I think, you know, this if this year has like showed me anything, it's that I still want to just keep trying different things. Like I don't want to put myself in one box. Um, I enjoyed the like Verdi races. I enjoyed learning how to use poles. More so, I think I enjoyed the training more than anything else for those races. Um, and on the opposite end of that, I feel like with the quicker races, I enjoy those races more, and maybe not the training for those more. I don't even know if
Mm,
that makes any sense, but yeah,
absolutely, it does. Yeah.
yeah. So I think that, going into next year, I kind of have this same plan of doing like different 50K races and maybe a 50 miler. But yeah, just like still mixing it up because I think that, one skill helps the other. And also, I think for me, it's nice to kind of mentally switch it up because if I'm just go into a year and I'm like, I'm going to do fast races, and that's all I'm going to like set my sights on, I just don't know if I'm gonna have as much fun because it's nice to mix it up with like a race like Broken Arrow or like speed goat training or something like that. Like it's nice to throw those things in there. One for like my body physically, but also like mentally. I like it's just such a good switch to go back and forth.
Hmm. I love that. And I love hearing the way that you're balancing, making sure that you're enjoying the day, all of the days that string together in between. That like the race is the one day and that matters, but what you're really framing around is what you're enjoying in between those times, the training that you're enjoying putting in.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean I've been running since basically like that freshman sophomore year of high school. And I think throughout the years, one thing that has been pretty important to me, and I think with the teams that I've been on, especially in college, like we had a lot of fun, and that team was so fun. And my experience there, like I think where I fell in love with running was college, and because of the atmosphere of, there was this balance of like, trying hard and like wanting to really achieve like big things, but also like not taking ourselves like super seriously and having like a lot of fun during practice or the in-betweens. So ever since then, I'm like, I know that if I'm gonna keep continuing to like have the drive to do this, like I have to have that type of balance. And it's helped so far, I think.
It's working. So this leads into my next question is what is next for you? What do you have on your list for next year as far as you're willing to share? I appreciate you
Oh,
might not share all of it.
no, I'm an open book. I don't care. Well, I haven't signed up for like any of this stuff yet, but this is what I've been in the works of thinking about. I kind of want to open the year as like maybe a little rust buster at Black Canyon 50K. And then I really want to go back to Chuckanut. I think Chuckanut is almost turning into like a JFK type of thing of like I have this this project mindset. I really like the layout of that race too. It
Mm,
inspires me the same way that JFK did. And it was such a bummer because I was just really enjoying the course. Really having a good like day out there and feeling fantastic, and then like unfortunately hypothermia. And there was really no like fighting through that. Like it's just like a health
right.
thing. But I want to go back and I want to like give that race my best effort, whatever that looks like. But I really want to give that race like a lot of attention. And then potentially, I'm gonna butcher this name, and this is really bad that I can't. It's like Transvolcania, or I don't really
Yeah,
know.
Transwakanya.
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, I kind of butchered it, but my coach kind of suggested it, and I am well skipping forward. I'm have a plan as of now to do OCC, so that like I haven't raced internationally yet, so I think going to I think it's a 50 miler, yeah, in May. I think that that would be a good, first international race, and it sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And that's another one of those things. I feel like in the past where people are like, you should try this, you should try that. Like Matt said, I think you would do good at this, and I'm like, okay, you didn't have to say more. That sounds fun. Let's do it. So that, and then something in between, and then OCC, which OCC will be outside of my comfort zone. But I'm excited to work on some of those technical skills that I think everyone knows that I need because I'm always on the ground. But I'm
Well,
excited for it.
but you have poles now.
Yeah, yeah, those things really help. Except for there was one run that I fell going uphill. I don't even know how I did that. I was really tired, and I had my poles and I jammed it right into my face.
Mm.
So yeah, they're great, but also for me, they could be a danger. I don't
Could be
know.
a hazard.
Yeah, I have a lot of work to do with before OCC, but I'm excited to do something like different. I'm excited to be out there for that weekend. I feel like more so I've had so much FOMO every year that everyone's there,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm gonna go. So I'm excited for that race for more reasons than just to race.
Awesome.
And then the
Awesome.
rest
That
of next
sounds
year, I don't know
exciting.
yet.
Yeah, there's still time left after that, but it sounds like you have a really great lineup there. I really hope that the weather holds out for you. I know Chuckanut last year and Transvolcania last year were both like
Yeah.
hypothermic events for a lot of people and shouldn't be. They aren't typically that kind of weather. So hopefully
Yeah.
you get some better luck this year.
Yeah,
That's
I think they
exciting.
like brought the cold rain to a lot of the races I did because Canyons was not supposed to be Canyons
Yeah.
like you
Oh,
can train
yeah.
for. Yeah.
Hmm.
But I think my experience with Chuckanut really helped with Canyons because I like the night before I left, I went out and bought a nice jacket. I'm like, this is not happening again. I bought hand warmers. I was ready for to be cold.
Prepared
Yeah.
now. So you'll go
Yeah, it's
into
all
these
about the
races.
gear.
Yep. All right. Okay. Last question that I have for you to bring us to a close. This is one I ask of everyone who comes on the pod, and it is if you could go back and give your 20-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh, I would have so much to say to 20-year-old me, I think. More than we have time for. Um, but I I think to just not be in a hurry. That I
Mm,
think at that time, I was running well in college, but I didn't really know what post collegiate running looked like. So I was having fun, but also there was always this in the back of my head, like this has an end date. Like this is like you need to achieve X, Y, and Z here. Um, because like you're not going to get fat, like this is it. And I
mhm.
think just to like let myself know like actually no, like you are going to get faster after college, and then you're going to transit, like there's like bigger things ahead. So you don't have to like, don't put so much like stress and pressure. And also just in like life stuff in general, like you don't have to accomplish XYZ before like the age of 30 or after that to be considered like successful or like you're crushing it. Like you can be on your own timeline. It doesn't have to look like this cookie cutter, layout of things. Um,
I love that.
yeah, yeah.
I love that. All right, Sarah, thank you so much for taking your time with me. I enjoyed getting to have a longer form conversation and talk through all that you've been through over the past many years, and just appreciate you sharing your story and sharing your perspectives and experiences. And I'm excited to share this with everybody else as well.
Ah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Mhm.